Kyle's eyes opened slowly as though waking from a dream that had lasted for eternity. A dim light flickered across the walls of the cryochamber, casting long shadows over the sleek metallic surfaces. His body ached stiff and cold, and the first sensation he noticed was the silence, deep, heavy, and complete. No hum of machinery, no voice from the ship's AI, no distant sounds of life. Just silence. For a long moment, Kale could not remember where he was. His mind floated between fragments of memory, the mission briefing, the hum of the engines, the promise of a new world to explore. And then it came back in pieces like shards of glass forming a fragile picture. He had been asleep for a very long time. How long exactly he did not know, but the ship's systems hinted at something impossible, tens of thousands of years. 16,000 to be exact. The thought hit him slowly and his breath caught. 16,000 years. The human race, the civilizations he knew, his home planet, they could all be gone. Or they might have evolved into something unrecognizable. The weight of that time pressed on him like a physical force. Kale swung his legs over the edge of the cryochamber and pushed himself upright. His muscles protested, stiff from centuries of inactivity. But he forced himself to move. The chamber hissed as it sealed behind him, a mechanical sigh in the otherwise silent room. His steps echoed softly on the metallic floor as he moved toward the central control console. The screens flickered weakly, displaying fragments of information. Logs were corrupted, timestamps jumbled beyond comprehension, but one message remained clear. Planet surface stable. Life signs 0. Kale swallowed hard. 0 life signs. Not a single heartbeat. Not a single pulse anywhere on the planet's surface. He had been sent here to help humanity expand, to colonize and terraform a new world. And now, after 16,000 years, the planet was silent. He donned his exploration suit, feeling the comforting weight of the armored material. The helmet sealed with a hiss and the HUD flickered to life, displaying atmospheric readings, structural integrity, and energy signatures. Everything indicated that the planet's surface was stable, breathable, but unnervingly empty. The airlock opened and Kale stepped outside. The light hit his eyes like a physical force. He blinked several times, adjusting to the strange pale sun that hung low in the sky. The world was breathtaking, but in a way that felt wrong. The cities that should have teemed with life were crumbling. Skyscrapers, once gleaming towers of metal and glass, were now fractured skeletons, overgrown with strange vegetation that had twisted into unnatural shapes. Roads cracked and buckled. Rivers ran silently and the wind whispered through empty streets. Kale took a deep breath and began to walk. His boots crunched against the dry, gray soil. He passed abandoned vehicles. Their metal shells rusted and warped as if the planet itself had rejected them. Signs of life once abundant were gone, leaving only the echoes of what had been. As he moved deeper into the city, he noticed something unusual. Shadows shifted in ways that didn't match the sun. Faint pulses of energy rippled across the horizon, almost like the world itself was breathing. He paused, unsure if his mind was playing tricks on him after so long in isolation. But the readings confirmed it. Something remained. Not life as he knew it, but something intelligent perhaps. Kyle entered a building that had once been a research facility. The doors groaned as he forced them open, revealing a large hall lined with broken consoles and shattered glass. Dust floated in shafts of sunlight streaming through cracks in the walls. Strange symbols were etched into the floors and walls, their meaning lost to time. He traced his fingers over one of the symbols. It pulsed faintly under his touch. The exploration of the facility yielded more questions than answers. Holographic projectors flickered to life, displaying fragmented recordings of alien beings, their faces serene, focused, unaware of the doom approaching. Kale watched in awe as they worked tirelessly, building, calculating, preparing for something they could not stop. The images were mesmerizing and sad, showing a civilization that had once dreamed and hoped, only to vanish without a trace. Hours passed as Kale wandered through the ruins, each discovery adding to the weight of silence that pressed on him. He found remnants of their technology, machines that hummed faintly with stored energy, devices that seemed beyond human comprehension. In one corner, a small plant had taken root, glowing faintly in the dim light. It was a reminder that life, in some form, had survived. The sun began to dip toward the horizon, casting the ruined city in long, orange shadows. Kale climbed a crumbling tower to get a better view of the landscape. From above, the planet stretched out like a canvas frozen in time. Cities sprawled across valleys. Rivers wound silently through plains, and forests twisted unnaturally, as if shaped by some unseen hand. He realized he could walk for days and find nothing alive. And yet, there was a strange beauty in the desolation, a quiet majesty that was both haunting and mesmerizing. That night, Kyle set up a small camp in the remains of an ancient plaza. He lit a small thermal heater, the warmth a comfort in the chill air. As he stared at the stars, he felt the weight of 16,000 years settle over him. He was alone, truly alone, on a planet that had once been alive and vibrant. But even in the silence, Kale felt a spark of determination. He was human, and humans survived. They adapted, explored, and endured. If there was a way to understand what had happened here, he would find it. If there was a chance to uncover the secrets of this silent world, he would take it. And if there was even the smallest hint that life still lingered, he would protect it, no matter the cost. Sleep came reluctantly that night, uneasy and shallow. His dreams were filled with fragments of the alien civilization, shadows of their lives, and faint whispers that seemed almost like calls for help. Kyle awoke several times, the silence pressing in around him, but with each waking he felt a strange sense of purpose. This planet was a mystery, and he was determined to solve it. As dawn approached, Kale packed his camp and prepared to continue his exploration. He moved with care, scanning every structure, every street, every shadow. The silence was oppressive, yet it pushed him forward, compelling him to understand the story of a civilization lost to time. He paused at the edge of a collapsed plaza, staring at a massive monument at its center. It was an alien statue, tall and elegant, depicting a figure with outstretched arms reaching toward the sky. Despite centuries of decay, the statue seemed almost alive, a sentinel watching over the empty city. Kale felt a strange kinship with it, a reminder that even in silence and desolation, there could be endurance, strength, and hope. As Kale took his first steps toward the monument, the ground trembled faintly beneath his boots. He froze, listening. The sound was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it carried a weight that made his heart race. Something moved beneath the surface, something hidden but undeniably present. The planet was not entirely silent. Kyle took a deep breath and continued forward, curiosity and caution warring within him. He did not yet know what he would find, or if he was ready to face the truth of this silent world. But one thing was certain: his journey had begun. The planet, quiet and still for 16,000 years, had finally met the eyes of a human explorer. And for the first time in millennia, it might not remain silent much longer. Kale stood before the ancient statue, its alien features staring blankly toward the sky. The faint tremor beneath his feet had stopped, but his curiosity burned hotter than ever. He scanned the surrounding ruins carefully. Every corner, every broken building seemed to whisper secrets of the past, and he knew that the planet, though silent, held answers somewhere among the ruins. He started walking toward the nearest large structure, a once grand research center that had been toppled and fractured by time. Its glass walls were shattered, metal frames twisted, yet there was a strange elegance in its decay. Kale's HUD scanned the building, picking up faint energy signatures. Some devices still seemed operational, powered by residual energy that had somehow persisted for thousands of years. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. Dust particles floated in the dim light, illuminated by the faint glow of alien symbols etched along the walls. Kale moved cautiously, touching the surfaces of consoles and machinery. They hummed faintly at his touch, as if reacting to his presence. He approached a central console. Its interface flickered weakly. Images appeared, holograms of alien beings working with intricate machines, diagrams of planets, and star maps. Kale watched, fascinated, as they conducted experiments that seemed far beyond human technology. One recording showed the aliens communicating with what looked like energy-based life forms, creatures of pure light that danced and swirled within transparent spheres. Kale could not comprehend how such beings existed, but the evidence was undeniable. As he explored further, Kale discovered corridors leading to chambers filled with alien devices. One chamber contained several small pods, their purpose unclear. Some had faint energy readings, others were completely dormant. He noticed a strange pattern in the floor tiles, geometric shapes that glowed softly when he stepped on them. The shapes seemed to form a path, guiding him deeper into the facility. Cale followed the path, his footsteps echoing in the vast, silent halls. The deeper he went, the more he felt that he was being watched, not in a threatening way, but as if the planet itself or something within it was aware of him. The sensation was unsettling, yet he could not turn back. There was something here, something important, and he needed to understand it. Finally, he reached a large chamber, its ceiling high and walls lined with strange, pulsing conduits. At the center stood a massive console, clearly the heart of the facility. It hummed with stored energy, and alien glyphs projected faintly into the air around it. Cale approached cautiously. The console reacted to his presence, holographic projections springing to life, displaying streams of data he could barely comprehend. He focused on one particular projection. It showed the planet long ago, teeming with life, cities bustling with activity, and skies filled with alien craft. The image shifted rapidly, showing the planet under a sudden violent event. A wave of energy, unlike anything Cale had ever seen, swept across the land. Cities fell, forests withered, and the alien population disappeared. The projection paused on a single frame, a massive energy pulse consuming everything in its path. Cale swallowed hard. This was the event that had silenced the planet. But why? And why had it left some technology operational, while erasing all life? The questions pressed on him, heavy and relentless. He turned to the remaining consoles, searching for more clues. Among fragmented logs and broken data files, he found a strange device, an alien terminal that seemed designed to communicate consciousness, not just data. Cale studied it carefully, unsure how to activate it. After several attempts, the device hummed and flickered, projecting a holographic interface filled with alien symbols. Slowly, images of an alien being appeared, its form delicate but powerful, glowing faintly with inner energy. The alien consciousness seemed aware of him immediately. It did not speak in words, but in flashes of thought and images. Cale felt its presence inside his mind, not invasive but curious. He saw fragments of the alien civilization, their hopes, dreams, and fears. He saw the energy pulse that had destroyed their world, and the desperate attempts to preserve their knowledge and culture. The alien showed him the stasis chambers scattered across the planet. Some were dormant, others still faintly active. The beings inside were preserved, not dead, awaiting revival that would never come. Cale realized that this civilization had tried everything to survive, and yet time had overtaken them. 16,000 years had passed, and he was the first being to awaken on this silent world since their disappearance. Cale felt a mixture of awe and sorrow. The aliens had been brilliant, compassionate, and determined, yet all that remained were echoes of their lives. The planet's silence was not just physical. It was a testament to loss, to dreams unfulfilled, to a future stolen by forces beyond comprehension. Determined to learn more, Cale began to explore the surrounding areas outside the city. He found forests, twisted and strange, filled with plants that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Rivers ran silently, their waters clear but strangely still. Animals that might have existed were nowhere to be seen. Even the sky seemed different, as if the very air held the memory of the planet's lost life. As he walked, Cale discovered small signs of resilience. A lone tree stood tall in a cracked plaza, its branches reaching toward the sky as if defying the planet's silence. Tiny glowing plants sprouted between the ruins, their faint light a reminder that life in some form still persisted. Cale realized that even on a world consumed by catastrophe, there was still hope, still potential for renewal. Night fell quickly, and Cale found a safe place to rest in a partially collapsed building. He set up a small thermal heater and allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. 16,000 years had passed. Civilizations had fallen, and yet here he was, a human, standing on a planet that had been silent for millennia. Sleep came cautiously, interrupted by dreams filled with alien voices, glowing landscapes, and echoes of the past. Cale awoke several times, the weight of the silent world pressing on him. Yet each time he opened his eyes, he felt a strange determination. He was here for a reason, though he did not yet understand it fully. He would uncover the secrets of this planet, learn from the alien civilization, and perhaps in some way honor what had been lost. The next morning, Cale returned to the research facility, determined to examine the stasis chambers more closely. He discovered several chambers still active, their energy readings faint but present. He studied them carefully, analyzing the technology and attempting to understand how the aliens had preserved life for so long. The thought that he might be able to revive some of these beings filled him with cautious hope. As he worked, he noticed subtle changes in the environment. Shadows shifted unnaturally. Lights flickered in the ruins, and the faint hum of the planet's energy network pulsed stronger. Kale realized that the planet itself was reacting to his presence. Something alive, something intelligent, still lingered beneath the surface, watching, waiting, and perhaps even communicating. Kale knew that his next steps would be critical. He had to decide whether to attempt communication with the alien consciousness, to awaken the stasis beings, or to continue exploring the planet in search of more answers. Each choice carried risks, but the opportunity to learn from a civilization lost to time was too great to ignore. With renewed determination, Kale prepared his equipment and set out toward the largest stasis chamber, deep within the ruins of the city. The path was treacherous, filled with collapsed buildings, unstable structures, and strange glowing plants that reacted to his presence. But Kale moved carefully, determined to reach his goal. As he approached the chamber, he felt a strange energy in the air, a sense of anticipation that made his heart race. The stasis chamber was massive, its surface covered in alien glyphs and symbols. Faint light pulsed from within, indicating that some form of energy was still active. Kale reached out, touching the surface, and the chamber responded, opening slowly with a hiss of displaced air. Inside, he saw rows of beings, preserved perfectly, their forms delicate yet powerful. They were alive, not in the way humans experienced life, but in a suspended state waiting for revival. Kale felt a wave of awe and responsibility. These beings represented a civilization that had survived unimaginable catastrophe, and now he held the key to their awakening. Kale took a deep breath, his mind racing with possibilities. Communication, revival, exploration, each step would shape the future of this silent world. And as he prepared to act, he felt the presence again, the planet's consciousness, watching, waiting, curious about the human who had awakened after 16,000 years. The silence was no longer just a void. It was a living, breathing entity, aware of him, testing him, and perhaps even guiding him. Kale knew that his journey had only just begun, and that the planet, though silent, held mysteries beyond anything he could imagine. Kyle stood before the massive stasis chamber, staring at the rows of alien beings preserved in suspended animation. His hands hovered over the control panel, hesitant yet curious. Every instinct in his body told him that the next step would change everything. The planet's silence was no longer empty. It felt alive, aware of him. He took a deep breath and activated the communication interface. The holographic projection shimmered to life, and a single alien consciousness appeared. Its form glowed faintly, humanoid but ethereal, with eyes that seemed to look straight into Kale's mind. The being did not speak in words, yet its thoughts flowed into him clearly, a torrent of images, feelings, and flashes of memory. Kale staggered back slightly, overwhelmed by the intensity. He saw the planet as it had been 16,000 years ago. Cities teeming with life, skies filled with shimmering craft, forests alive with energy. The aliens moved gracefully, their technology interwoven with the natural world. They were explorers, scientists, dreamers, a civilization that had achieved harmony with their planet. Then came the catastrophe. Kale watched as a wave of energy, immense and unstoppable, swept across the planet. Cities crumbled, forests burned, and the alien population fled in panic. The consciousness showed him the desperation of its people as they activated stasis chambers, hoping to preserve life for a future they would never reach. The planet's energy had reacted violently to the cosmic pulse, erasing almost all life, leaving only dormant machinery and a few resilient pockets of flora. Kale listened, absorbing every detail. The alien consciousness seemed to trust him, sharing memories of its kind in the moments before their world went silent. He saw their final efforts, their experiments with energy, and their attempts to communicate beyond the stars. They had hoped someone someday might find them, and now, Kyle was that someone. The alien projected a vision of a central network, buried deep beneath the surface of the planet, controlling energy flow and preserving the stasis chambers. Kale understood that this network was intelligent, a planetary consciousness designed to maintain life in some form, even after catastrophe. It had waited silently for millennia, monitoring the planet, reacting to anomalies, and now it had detected him. Kale realized that the energy pulses he had felt earlier were not random. They were the planet testing him, assessing whether he could be trusted. The consciousness conveyed a single thought clearly. You are human. You have awakened. You are the first visitor in 16,000 years. Will you understand or will you destroy? Kale swallowed hard. He wanted to ask questions, but words were unnecessary. He understood the weight of responsibility. The aliens had entrusted their legacy to him, and the planet itself seemed to be watching his every move. He needed to proceed carefully. He began examining the stasis chambers more closely. Each chamber was a marvel of alien engineering, preserving life with precision and efficiency. Kale wondered if he could safely awaken one of the beings. Would they recognize him as an ally, or would they perceive him as a threat? The thought made him hesitate, but his curiosity pushed him forward. Kyle activated a single chamber, choosing one near the center of the facility. Lights pulsed gently as the system came online, energy flowing into the suspended being. The alien form shimmered and twitched as the stasis field weakened. Kale held his breath, watching as the being's eyes slowly opened. The alien looked at him, its gaze calm yet filled with intelligence. For a moment neither spoke. Words were unnecessary. Thoughts flowed between them, images and emotions bridging the gap between species. Kale felt a mixture of relief, awe, and responsibility. This being was the last hope of its civilization, and he held the power to guide its awakening. The alien projected a vision of the energy wave that had destroyed the planet. Kale understood the danger. It was not just a memory. The same cosmic phenomenon that had wiped out the aliens could still threaten nearby systems. Time was critical. If humanity or other civilizations were to survive, knowledge of this event had to be shared. Kale began exploring the facility's remaining systems, guided by the alien consciousness. He discovered maps, star charts, and records detailing the alien experiments with interstellar communication. They had tried to warn other civilizations to send messages beyond the reach of the cosmic wave. Most of these efforts failed, lost to time and space, yet fragments remained. Kale realized he could continue their work, using their technology to broadcast warnings to human colonies across light years. While analyzing the network, Kale noticed subtle signs of the planet's awareness. Energy pulses shifted in response to his movements. Lights flickered in patterns, and the faint hum of machinery pulsed like a heartbeat. The consciousness conveyed that the planet itself was cautious, testing him before allowing full access to its systems. Kale understood that he had to prove his intentions through action, not words. Kale spent hours studying the alien devices, learning to navigate the intricate network of energy flows. He marveled at the sophistication of their technology, machines that seemed to think, analyze, and respond independently. The planet's systems were intertwined with these machines, forming a delicate web that had survived 16,000 years without human intervention. The alien being, now partially awake, guided Kale through the facility. It showed him hidden chambers filled with energy reserves, storage units containing preserved knowledge, and archives of alien history. Kale felt the weight of responsibility more acutely with every discovery. He was not merely exploring a planet. He was entrusted with the legacy of an entire civilization. As night fell on the planet, Kale and the alien being set up a temporary base within the research facility. He allowed the being to rest, understanding that full revival would take time. Kale himself slept lightly, dreams filled with visions of the planet's past, flashes of alien cities and glimpses of the cosmic wave that had erased so much life. When he awoke, Kale felt renewed determination. The alien civilization had preserved their knowledge and a fragment of their people, but it was his actions that would determine whether their legacy would continue. He began planning how to communicate with humanity, to warn them of the cosmic threat and perhaps to use the alien technology to aid their survival. Kyle also realized that he had a companion now, not just the alien being he had awakened, but the planetary consciousness itself. Together, they could navigate the dangers of the planet, uncover hidden knowledge, and perhaps find ways to revive more of the stasis beings. The following days were a blur of exploration, learning, and discovery. Kale moved through the ruined city, guided by the alien and the planet's subtle cues. He found smaller stasis chambers, dormant energy nodes, and fragments of alien machinery. Each discovery deepened his understanding of the civilization that had thrived and perished here. Kale also noticed changes in the environment. Glowing plants grew more vibrant, small animals, perhaps descendants of those that survived the cosmic wave, emerged cautiously from hiding, and the winds seemed to carry faint whispers of the past. The planet, though silent for millennia, was beginning to respond to his presence. By the end of the week, Kale had accessed the central network fully. The alien consciousness guided him through the final stages, allowing him to interface with the planetary intelligence directly. He felt a connection unlike anything he had experienced, a living, thinking planet aware of his intentions, his fears, and his determination. The consciousness projected a vision of the wider universe, showing him other planets and civilizations that might face the same cosmic threat. Kale understood that his mission was no longer confined to this planet alone. He had to act, to send warnings, and perhaps to guide the survival of other species, including humans. Kyle looked at the alien being beside him, its form glowing faintly in the dim light. He realized that together, they could achieve something remarkable. Not just survival, but understanding. Not just warning, but preparation. The knowledge preserved for 16,000 years was now in human hands, ready to shape the future of many worlds. As he prepared for the next phase of exploration, Kale felt a mixture of hope and determination. The planet had been silent for 16,000 years, but now it spoke. Not in words, but in knowledge, in energy, in guidance. Kale knew that the journey ahead would be dangerous, filled with challenges he could not yet imagine, but he was ready. The legacy of an entire civilization rested on his actions, and he would not fail. The silence of the planet was no longer oppressive. It had become a companion, a teacher, and a guide. And for the first time in 16,000 years, Kyle was not alone. Kale stood at the edge of the central chamber, staring at the rows of stasis chambers that stretched farther than he could see. The alien being he had awakened the day before floated beside him, its glow faint but steady. The planet's awareness pulsed subtly through the facility, as if waiting for him to make a choice. Kale knew what he had to do next, but the decision weighed heavily on him. He had two paths. One was to awaken more of the stasis beings, bringing the last remnants of this civilization back to life. The other was to focus on broadcasting a warning to humanity and other nearby civilizations about the cosmic energy wave that had destroyed this planet. Both were important, but both carried risks. Awakening too many beings without understanding the planet's defenses could trigger a dangerous reaction. Focusing on the warning alone might leave the alien civilization's knowledge and people trapped forever. Kale ran his hands over the control interface, analyzing energy readings and planetary responses. The alien being guided him with gentle projections of thought, showing him the safest way to proceed. Kale realized that the planet itself would judge every action he took. It had survived 16,000 years of silence and observation. Its intelligence was vast, patient, and cautious. Any misstep could be catastrophic. After careful consideration, Kale made his choice. He would awaken a small group of beings first, enough to guide the process and ensure safety. If successful, he could expand the revival. If not, the knowledge and life of the civilization would remain protected, hidden from potential harm. The alien being nodded in agreement, its thoughts conveying both encouragement and reassurance. Kyle activated the first series of chambers. Lights pulsed and energy flowed into the suspended beings, and one by one they began to awaken. Their eyes opened slowly, filled with confusion, awareness, and intelligence. Kale held his breath, unsure how they would react to him or the planet. The first being stepped forward, its gaze meeting Kale's. There was no fear, only curiosity and recognition. Kale felt a wave of relief. The beings understood that he was not a threat. They communicated through thoughts and images, sharing flashes of memory and emotion. Kale learned that they had been explorers, scientists, and dreamers, each dedicated to understanding the universe and preserving knowledge. As more beings awoke, the facility hummed with energy. The planet's systems responded, lights flickering, corridors shifting slightly, and the faint hum growing stronger. Kale realized that the planetary consciousness was actively monitoring this revival. It was cautious but not hostile, testing the intentions of the human who had awakened after 16,000 years. The alien beings, now fully conscious, moved gracefully through the facility, examining their surroundings. They marveled at the changes in the city, the ruins of their civilization, and the adaptations of the planet over millennia. Cale observed silently, understanding that their emotions were a mix of awe, sorrow, and determination. They had been given a second chance, and he felt the weight of responsibility more strongly than ever. Once the initial group had stabilized, Cale turned his attention to the planet's energy network. He had learned that the cosmic wave that destroyed the planet could still affect nearby systems. Using the alien technology, he could send a warning across light years, giving humanity and other civilizations a chance to prepare. It was a task that required precision, energy management, and the cooperation of the awakened aliens. Cale and the alien group worked together to interface with the network. The planetary consciousness guided them, showing pathways, energy conduits, and amplification points. Cale marveled at the sophistication of the system. It was not just a machine. It was a living intelligence, intertwined with the planet itself. Every action had to be carefully balanced to avoid destabilizing the network. Hours passed as they prepared the transmission. Cale coordinated with the aliens, translating their thoughts and memories into signals that could be understood by human technology. The planet hummed beneath them, responding to every adjustment, testing their actions, and guiding their efforts. Cale felt a deep connection to the world, to the alien civilization, and to the future of countless lives across the stars. Finally, the transmission was ready. Cale activated it, and a pulse of energy shot across the void, carrying warnings, coordinates, and instructions for survival. The message was designed to reach human colonies, scientific outposts, and other civilizations that might be threatened by similar cosmic phenomena. Cale held his breath as the pulse traveled, hoping that it would reach its destinations and be understood. As the energy faded, the planetary system stabilized, and the alien beings turned to Cale. Their thoughts conveyed gratitude, relief, and admiration. They had survived in part because of him, and the message they had helped send could save countless lives. Cale felt a surge of pride, tempered by the knowledge that the work was far from over. The planet, silent for 16,000 years, now pulsed with life again, not biological, but intelligent, aware, and responsive. Cale realized that the revival of the alien beings and the successful transmission of the warning were the first steps in a much larger journey. The planet had not merely survived. It had adapted, guided, and now partnered with him to influence the future of the galaxy. Despite the success, Cale knew dangers remained. The cosmic phenomenon was vast and unpredictable. Humanity and other civilizations might still face challenges, and the revived aliens needed time to understand their changed world. Cale had to plan carefully, balancing the revival of life with the broader mission of warning and preparation. Over the next few days, Cale and the alien beings explored the facility further. They discovered archives containing knowledge about interstellar travel, energy manipulation, and the nature of the cosmic wave. Cale marveled at the intelligence preserved in these records. Every device, every hologram, and every memory was a testament to the alien civilization's brilliance and resilience. Cale also learned more about the planetary consciousness. It was not merely a guardian. It was a teacher. It conveyed lessons about patience, observation, and careful action. The planet had endured 16,000 years of silence, surviving against forces that were incomprehensible. Cale realized that its guidance was invaluable, and he began to trust its judgment, working in harmony with its subtle influence. As they worked, the revived aliens began to explore their environment. They marveled at the changes in the planet's landscapes, the growth of new flora, and the faint emergence of small fauna. Though the world had been silent for millennia, life was returning in subtle ways, guided by the planetary intelligence. Cale felt a sense of hope growing within him. One day, as they examined a distant section of the city, Cale noticed faint movement in the shadows. Small glowing creatures emerged, seemingly curious about the humans and aliens. The alien beings observed them with wonder, recognizing them as descendants of creatures that had survived the cosmic catastrophe. The planet was teaching them, showing them resilience, adaptation, and the persistence of life. Cale realized that the planet itself was more than a setting. It was a participant. It had endured, learned, and adapted. Now it was guiding the revival of a civilization and helping prepare the galaxy for potential danger. He felt a profound connection to the world, to the aliens, and to the future of life itself. The days turned into weeks as Kale and the alien beings continued their work. They revived more of the stasis population, strengthened the planetary energy network, and prepared additional transmissions for distant civilizations. Kale's understanding of the alien technology deepened, and he began to see the potential for collaboration between humanity and this ancient species. Yet, Kale knew that challenges remained. The cosmic phenomenon was not gone. It still existed, moving slowly through space, and the galaxy was unaware of its presence. The mission was far from complete, but Kale had made a critical start. Humanity had been warned, the alien beings had been revived, and the planet's intelligence was once again active. The silence that had endured for 16,000 years was giving way to purpose, action, and hope. That night, Kale stood on a high terrace, overlooking the city and the glowing flora that had begun to spread across the ruins. The stars above seemed brighter, as if acknowledging the first human to awaken on this planet in 16,000 years. Kale reflected on how far he had come, from awakening alone in a silent world to leading the revival of an entire civilization. The alien being beside him projected a vision of the galaxy, showing distant planets, potential threats, and the paths that humanity could take. Kale felt the weight of responsibility, but also the exhilaration of possibility. He was no longer merely an explorer. He was a bridge between civilizations, a guardian of knowledge and a partner to a living planet. As he prepared to rest, Kale felt a quiet assurance. The planet, though silent for millennia, had chosen to trust him. The revived alien beings had accepted him as an ally, and the cosmic warning had been sent, reaching across the stars. The journey was far from over, but the foundations had been laid for survival, understanding, and perhaps a new era of interstellar cooperation. Kyle closed his eyes, feeling the hum of the planet beneath him and the gentle glow of the revived aliens around him. For the first time in 16,000 years, the PEE. Kale stood at the center of the massive facility, surrounded by the revived alien beings and the hum of the planetary energy network. The planet's awareness pulsed steadily, like a heartbeat, responding to every movement, every thought, every choice. Kale knew that the final challenge lay ahead. He had to decide how to balance the revival of the alien civilization, the protection of the planet, and the safety of distant civilizations threatened by the cosmic phenomenon. The weight of 16,000 years pressed heavily on him. The alien beings gathered around him, their thoughts flowing gently into his mind. They were aware of the risks, yet they trusted him. Their civilization had survived unimaginable catastrophe, and now they depended on his judgment to guide them toward a future they had only dreamed of before. Kyle felt a surge of determination. He had come too far to hesitate now. Kale examined the planetary network, observing energy flows, stasis chamber integrity, and environmental stability. The system was delicate. Awakening too many beings too quickly could destabilize the planet's energy. Ignoring the stasis chambers, however, could leave the alien civilization incomplete. He realized he had to act strategically, balancing revival with caution, and he devised a step-by-step plan. First, Kale would awaken the remaining stasis beings in carefully controlled batches. He would monitor the planet's response, ensuring stability and avoiding sudden energy surges. The alien beings he had already awakened would help guide the process, teaching him about their technology and culture. This methodical approach minimized risk while maximizing the chance for success. The first batch of stasis chambers activated. Lights pulsed softly, energy flowed steadily, and one by one the aliens began to awaken. Some blinked, adjusting to consciousness after 16,000 years. Some looked around the ruined facility with awe and curiosity, while others focused on stabilizing their systems and machinery. Kale worked alongside them, coordinating energy flows and ensuring the planet remained calm. The planet responded, not with hostility but with quiet intelligence. Energy nodes shifted, conduits pulsed, and the faint hum of the planetary network synchronized with the awakened beings. Kale realized that the planet itself was not just a passive setting, it was a living partner, guiding the revival and protecting its inhabitants. As the final batch of stasis chambers prepared to activate, Kale felt the presence of the cosmic phenomenon more strongly. It was distant, yet its energy rippled through space, subtle but detectable. The planet's intelligence had been preparing for this moment, and Kale understood that the time to send a final, galaxy-wide warning had come. Kale coordinated with the alien beings in the planetary network, translating complex alien calculations into signals that could be broadcast across light years. The message carried warnings, coordinates, instructions for protection, and guidance for survival. It was the culmination of centuries of alien knowledge, human ingenuity, and planetary intelligence. Kale activated the transmission. A pulse of energy surged through the network and shot across space faster than light, reaching countless systems. Kale felt the hum of the planet intensify, as if it were celebrating the success. The cosmic wave, distant and dangerous, would no longer reach unprepared civilizations. The warning had been sent. Kale exhaled, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. He had accomplished what seemed impossible. He had revived a lost civilization, partnered with a living planet, and warned the galaxy of an impending threat. Yet the journey was not complete. The alien beings needed guidance, and the planet required balance to ensure long-term stability. Kale turned to the awakened aliens. They moved with grace and intelligence, studying their surroundings, analyzing energy systems, and beginning to plan the revival of their culture. Kale felt their gratitude not in words but in thought. They recognized him as a partner, a friend, and a bridge between their civilization and the wider galaxy. Over the next few days, Kyle worked tirelessly with the aliens to stabilize the planet and its network. They repaired broken systems, recalibrated energy nodes, and monitored environmental conditions. The city began to show signs of life, not just preserved machinery but growing flora, small animals cautiously emerging, and even faint signs of atmospheric renewal. The planet, silent for 16,000 years, was beginning to hum with life once more. Kyle also focused on the revived alien beings. He shared human knowledge, learned from their wisdom, and coordinated plans for rebuilding their civilization. They discussed science, art, exploration, and philosophy. Kale realized that these beings were not just survivors. They were brilliant, compassionate, and capable of guiding the galaxy into a new era of cooperation. One day, Kyle and the alien beings climbed a hill overlooking the ruins of the city. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across broken streets, shattered towers, and glowing plants that had begun to reclaim the land. The scene was a reminder of the past but also a promise of the future. Kale felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had not only survived 16,000 years of silence, but had also breathed life back into a world that had been lost. The alien consciousness, now fully integrated with the revived beings, projected a vision of the galaxy. Kale saw distant planets, human colonies, and civilizations that had received the warning. The cosmic phenomenon was still out there, but preparations had begun. Humanity, guided by knowledge and experience, had a chance to survive and thrive. Kale understood that his role as an explorer had evolved. He was now a guardian, a teacher, and a bridge between species. The planet had chosen him for this responsibility, and he accepted it with determination. He would continue to guide the revival of the alien civilization, protect the planet, and ensure that the galaxy was ready for challenges that might come in the future. As Kale prepared to rest that evening, he felt a profound connection to the planet, the aliens, and the universe itself. He thought about the silence that had endured for 16,000 years, and how it had finally ended. The world was alive again, aware and responsive, ready to shape its destiny alongside humanity. In the following weeks, Kale and the aliens established routines. The revived beings began studying their lost culture, adapting to new circumstances and preparing for interstellar communication. Kale coordinated with the planetary network to monitor energy flows, ensuring stability while exploring ways to expand life across the planet. Kyle also explored the outer regions of the planet, guided by the planetary intelligence. He discovered hidden energy nodes, ancient laboratories, and reservoirs of knowledge that had been dormant for millennia. Each discovery strengthened the bond between human and alien, past and present, and offered new possibilities for survival and growth. One morning, Kyle stood on a cliff overlooking the planet's vast plains. The first signs of organized life had begun to emerge. Glowing plants forming patterns, small animals cautiously venturing out, and energy pulses harmonizing with the planet's rhythms. The once silent world was awakening, responding to the care of those who had survived and to the guidance of its human and alien guardians. Kale knew that challenges would continue. The cosmic phenomenon, though warned against, was still out there. Other civilizations might not respond as quickly or wisely. But he also knew that humanity, guided by knowledge, resilience, and cooperation with the alien civilization, had a fighting chance. The foundation had been laid for survival, understanding, and interstellar collaboration. As he watched the sunrise, Kale felt a quiet satisfaction. 16,000 years of silence had ended because he had chosen to awaken, to explore, and to act. The alien civilization had been given a second chance. The planet had regained its voice and humanity had been warned. Kale turned to the alien being beside him. Its glow was steady, its presence reassuring. They communicated without words, sharing thoughts of gratitude, hope, and determination. Together they looked toward the future, a galaxy filled with possibility, learning, and cooperation. For the first time in 16,000 years, the planet was not silent. It pulsed with life, awareness, and purpose. Kyle smiled, knowing that he had fulfilled the mission that had begun long before his awakening. He had bridged time, species, and civilizations, proving that even in the vast, quiet universe, one determined human could change the course of history. The planet, the alien civilization, and humanity were connected now, bound by knowledge, survival, and hope. And Kale, the human who had awakened after 16,000 years, stood ready to guide, protect, and explore the universe alongside them. The silence was over, and a new era had begun. Kale took a deep breath, feeling the hum of the planet beneath his feet and the warmth of life around him. The journey had been long, the challenges immense, but the reward was extraordinary. Life, intelligence, and hope had returned to a world that had been lost to time. And now, together with the aliens and the living planet, Kale would face the future. A future where silence was no longer a threat, but a reminder of resilience, endurance, and the power of determination.